The Forest Architects, a tale of the great crested woodpeckers. There are moments in life when nature taps us gently on the shoulder and whispers, "Pay attention." They don't happen often, not every day, not even every month. But when they do, they remind us that the wild world around us is not silent or still. It's alive, intricate, and filled with stories far older than our own. One of those moments came to me one quiet afternoon in late May. The rain had just ended, leaving the forest floor glistening like polished glass. The scent of wet bark and moss hung heavy in the air as I wandered through an old forest preserve in Ontario, an ancient woodland of towering beeches, maples, and white oaks that had seen centuries pass. I wasn't looking for anything. I simply needed to breathe. Then I heard it, a peculiar sound that made me stop mid-step. It was a rapid, hollow drumming, followed by sharp, laughing cries that echoed between the trunks. It didn't sound like any songbird I knew. It was rhythmic, almost mechanical. Curious, I scanned the canopy until my eyes caught a flash of red high up on a dying beech tree. And there they were, a great crested woodpecker family. The male, magnificent in his black coat and bright crimson crest, was perched on the side of a hollow trunk, feeding two tiny chicks that poked their heads from a freshly carved nest cavity. Their calls were loud and impatient, a mix between squeaks and duck-like quacks. The male darted in and out, delivering mouthfuls of wriggling insects. In that instant, I knew I had stumbled onto something special. Few people ever witness a great crested woodpecker family up close. They are shy, elusive birds, more often heard than seen. Without hesitation, I decided I'd return every morning until the chicks left the nest. The next day, I arrived at sunrise, the air cool and damp with fog. I found a spot a respectful distance away and set up my camera. 10 minutes passed. 20. Nothing. Then, without warning, the quiet was broken by the unmistakable whir of powerful wings. The male swooped in, landing with precision on the beech's bark. His head moved in sharp jerks, his eyes scanning the forest before he dipped into the cavity to feed his young. From that day on, I learned their rhythm. Every 20 to 25 minutes, the adults, male and female, took turns returning to feed the chicks. Their meals were a fascinating mix of forest life, carpenter ants, beetle larvae, termites, spiders, and caterpillars. On rare occasions, they even fed on berries or wild grapes when insects were scarce. Each visit lasted less than a minute, but the devotion was constant. Masters of the forest. The great crested woodpecker, Dryocopus pileatus, is one of the largest woodpeckers in North America, nearly the size of a crow, with a wingspan stretching up to 30 inches. Its powerful bill can chisel into the hardest wood, producing rectangular holes that can reach more than half a meter deep. These birds are true engineers of the forest. Their excavations create homes not only for their own families, but also for owls, swifts, flying squirrels, and bats once they move on. They are what ecologists call keystone species, organisms whose presence supports an entire ecosystem. Without them, countless cavity-nesting animals would struggle to find shelter. Even fungi benefit, spreading through the decayed wood that woodpeckers expose in their relentless search for insects. Both parents share nesting duties. The male usually does most of the excavation, chiseling through dead wood with astonishing precision for up to 6 weeks to create a perfect cavity. The nest is never reused. Each year, a new one is built, ensuring a continuous cycle of renewal in the forest. During the day, I often heard their territorial calls, a wild, laughing kook 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 kook, ringing through the trees. It's one of the most distinctive sounds in the forest, sometimes mistaken for a distant monkey's cry. I also learned to recognize the sound of their drumming. Not the slow tap of smaller woodpeckers, but a deep, rolling thunderbeat used to mark territory and attract mates. Bold and Bramble. Over time, I began to tell the two chicks apart. One was bold, vibrant, and always eager for food, the first to poke his head out when a parent arrived. The other was smaller, quieter, with duller plumage and hesitant movements. I called them Bold and Bramble. Bold was a born adventurer, already testing his wings by the 7th day I visited. He'd stretch his neck out, flap furiously, and retreat again with a squawk. Bramble, in contrast, lingered in the shadows, peeking out only when coaxed by the sound of his parents. By the 10th day, the two had grown remarkably. Their heads now sported the beginnings of red crests. Their eyes were alert, their calls louder, more demanding. I noticed that each parent had a distinct feeding pattern. The male preferred larger insects and grubs, while the female often brought back smaller prey, like beetles and spiders. Watching them, I felt I was witnessing the heartbeat of the forest itself, steady, ancient, and full of purpose. The morning of change. On the 12th morning, the forest felt different. The sky was clear, the air still. I walked quietly to my usual spot and found the nest silent. The entrance hole was empty. My heart dropped. I had missed it. The fledging. But just as I began to pack my gear, I heard that familiar laughing call behind me. Turning slowly, I spotted Bold, clinging proudly to the trunk of a maple not far from the nest. His feathers gleamed, his wings strong and sure. He had made it. He was free, learning the art of flight, the forest now his classroom. That single moment felt like a celebration. I realized how extraordinary it was that I had witnessed this transformation, from helpless chick to wild, independent bird. Yet the joy was bittersweet. The next day, I returned, hoping to see Bramble take his first flight. But beneath the beech tree, I found him still and silent. He had not survived the night. I sat beside the tree for a long time, listening to the distant calls of his family echoing through the forest. In life, some stories end quietly, but their echoes last. Bramble had lived his short life surrounded by towering trees, cared for by devoted parents, part of a cycle older than memory itself. The architect's legacy. Weeks later, the beech tree's hollow found new residents, a pair of northern flickers, followed by a family of bats. That's the beauty of what the great crested woodpeckers leave behind. They are the builders who never stop giving. Their old nests become new homes. Their chiseling keeps the forest healthy by letting fungi and insects recycle the dead wood. Ecologists call them ecosystem engineers for a reason. Where woodpeckers thrive, the forest thrives. Studies have shown that areas with strong woodpecker populations also support greater biodiversity, from songbirds to small mammals to amphibians. Their role is as vital to the forest as bees are to flowers. Despite once facing steep population declines during the 19th and early 20th centuries, when deforestation and unregulated hunting devastated their habitats, the great crested woodpecker made a remarkable comeback. Thanks to reforestation, protected parks, and conservation laws, they now flourish across much of North America, from the Gulf Coast to the Pacific Northwest and deep into Canada's boreal wilderness. Each morning I spent with them changed how I saw the forest. Every sound, every rustle of wings, every echoing drumbeat reminded me that the world around us is endlessly alive, if only we slow down enough to notice. Nature doesn't seek to be mysterious, it simply is. It's we who are often too hurried to listen. But sometimes, when the rain clears and the light catches the trees just right, we are invited in, to watch, to learn, and to remember that we are guests in a world of wonders. And somewhere out there, beneath a towering beech or oak, the next generation of forest architects is already at work, hammering, carving, and singing their bright, wild song across the woods of North America. Their echo, like the heartbeat of the forest, reminds us that as long as the trees stand tall, the spirit of the great crested woodpecker will never fade.